Beloved, chosen one. Stop and listen. Heaven has pressed pause on everything around you to deliver this messaggeno, because you stumbled here by chance. But because you've been summoned, you are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are the one marked by light in a world that celebrates shadows. Before your mother held you, before your first breath cried out into the atmosphere, your name was whispered in heaven's courts. You were chosen, assigned, and anointed for a purpose beyond your understanding. From the moment you arrived on this earth, hell took notice. There has been an invisible war surrounding your life, not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. Hell doesn't fight what doesn't threaten it. You, chosen one, are a threat. You carry a divine fingerprint that cannot be erased. You've walked into rooms and shifted atmospheres without saying a word. You've made the enemy nervous simply by surviving what was meant to destroy you. You are marked. Every rejection you've endured, every misunderstanding you've suffered, every time you felt out of place, it was not random. It was confirmation. The world didn't recognize you because heaven concealed your true identity. God marked you with something too heavy for common company. You were not meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out, even in silence. This is why you felt like an alien among the familiar. You carry a mantle not everyone is qualified to understand. Listen to me. You have been walking through this life with a fire in your bones and a crown in the spirit realm that the world has yet to see. That feeling you've had all your life, that you're meant for something more, it wasn't arrogance. It was awareness. It was your spirit remembering what your flesh forgot. The angels have already etched your assignment into the timeline of eternity. That is why you couldn't die in that accident. That is why you survived the heartbreak. That is why you're still here. Because the marking on your life forbids premature endings. And I need you to understand this. God doesn't mark what He doesn't plan to use. You have been hidden, but not forgotten. You have been preserved, not overlooked. The oil on your life is evidence of a divine claim. And now the heavens are sounding the alarm. Time is not on your side anymore. The marking demands movement. The seal requires surrender. The calling is awakening. The enemy has tried everything to silence you, to exhaust your soul, to bury you in shame, to drown you in fear, but you are still standing. You are proof that divine assignment outranks demonic agenda. Every demon that tried to drag you under has failed. Every spirit of despair that tried to whisper, "Give up," has been silenced. Why? Because your name is written in flames on heaven's scrolls. Because your prayers have reached a frequency that hell cannot interfere with. Because you are a chosen one. And chosen ones don't die in the wilderness, they rise. As Isaiah proclaims in chapter 43, verse 2, "When you walk through fire, you will not be burned." That fire you've been walking through, it wasn't meant to consume you. It was meant to reveal what cannot be scorched, the anointing that abides in you. You are fireproof. Not because you are strong, but because you are sealed. The angels have watched over you in every valley, through every tear-soaked pillow, in every moment of confusion and agony, and now they are waiting for your yes, your full surrender, your complete activation, because the time has come. You were not sent to earth to chase comfort. You were sent to bring confrontation, to dismantle lies, to carry truth, to walk in power. And the moment you accept this truth is the moment chains begin to break, not just off your life, but off your entire bloodline. You are not just marked for personal victory. You are marked for generational transformation. You are the one they've been waiting for. And whether they believe it or not, heaven does. The angels do. And deep down, you know it too. So hear this. The time for passivity is over. The time for self-doubt is done. You are marked. Heaven has put its signature on your soul. You will not move forward another day pretending to be average. You are extraordinary. You are chosen. And if you're ready to step fully into the divine fire that's calling your name, then declare it with your whole being. Comment 777 below as a prophetic act, as a divine signature, as a public declaration that you are ready to step into the fire, ready to wear your crown, ready to answer the call that marked you before birth. You've wondered why the isolation felt so deep, so cruel, why you were cut off, not just from people, but from belonging itself. Let me tell you, chosen one, the separation was sacred. It wasn't rejection, it was protection. While others danced in the crowd, you were being hidden in the cleft of the rock. You were being carved away from contamination, because what you carry could not afford compromise. There were nights you cried out, "Why me, Lord?" Not out of arrogance, but from the crushing weight of solitude. You were misunderstood in rooms where you spoke nothing wrong. You were looked at with suspicion, while others thrived in mediocrity. You felt unseen by men, but observed by something greater. Because heaven never took its eyes off you. The isolation wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. You were not being punished. You were being purified. Every time you felt alone, God was doing surgery on your soul. Every time the phone didn't ring, every plan that fell through it was divine orchestration, not neglect. You couldn't afford to be entangled with people who would dilute your destiny. You were not created to be common, and those marked by God are not allowed to move like the crowd. While they sought attention, you were called into alignment. Heaven silenced the noise around you, so you could hear the sound within you, the voice of God calling you higher. That ache in your soul was never about needing people, it was about needing permission to rise. And that permission was never going to come from man. It had to come from above. You were always different because you were always destined. Your loneliness was holy separation. It was heaven building a chamber inside you, where no idol could rest. No counterfeit could fit. There is a mystery behind the silence you've endured. Some days you questioned if you had been forgotten. But now, look back. See how you were being set apart. God wasn't ignoring you. He was investing in you. Your roots were growing deeper. Your discernment was sharpening. Your skin got tougher. But your heart stayed pure. That is the mark of one who has been in the secret place. Others were building platforms. God was building your altar. Others were rushing to be seen. He was waiting for you to be sealed. There is no anointing without isolation. Moses had to be pulled from the palace. David had to be pulled from the pasture. Jesus had to be pulled into the wilderness. So why would your process look different? You were chosen in the dark before you were ever needed in the light. What you thought was rejection was really God saying, "You're too valuable to be wasted here." Every door that didn't open was God saying, "Not this one. I have better." Every friendship that dissolved wasn't random, it was surgical. Heaven only allows what builds you. What drains you, that had to go. And though your flesh hated the loneliness, your spirit grew bold in it. You began to see what others could not. You felt things others dismissed. You walked into spaces and discerned spirits that were never named. You began to move differently, talk differently, crave differently, not because you were better, but because you were being reformed. Heaven was molding a vessel that could hold glory. Do you understand the weight of that? The world celebrates connection, but the kingdom sanctifies consecration. And you, chosen one, were called to be set apart. You weren't meant to be swallowed by the crowd. You were designed to lead it out. There's a reason you never fit the mold. You weren't built to bend, you were forged to stand. And that is why the silence had to come first. God needed to ensure your foundation wasn't built on applause or approval. You were meant to thrive in obscurity first, so that when the light hits you, it won't blind you. That's what the silence did. It stripped away dependence on validation. It broke the addiction to attention. It taught you that being seen by God is enough. And now, when people look at you and wonder how you carry such clarity, they don't know you earned it in the shadows. You bled in places no one could see. You grew in environments where no one clapped. You obeyed when it cost you company, opportunities, and comfort. That is what set you apart. That is what consecrated you. And that is why the angels have marked you. Paul reminds us in Galatians chapter 1, verse 15, "But when God, who set me apart from my mother's womb and called me by his grace, was pleased," you've been set apart, not from this year, or from the last crisis, from the womb. And every silent season, every quiet pine, has been proof of that calling. You weren't overlooked, you were hidden. You weren't alone, you were protected. You weren't rejected, you were reserved. Chosen one. There's a reason you've been fought so violently, from your childhood to this very moment. Darkness has never been comfortable around you. You've walked into rooms and felt an immediate shift, people getting quiet, tension rising, eyes avoiding yours. That wasn't paranoia. That was your presence exposing things. Your light unsettles what hides in the shadows. Even when you didn't know who you were, the enemy did. There's been a target on your back, not because you are weak, but because you are armed. Armed with a destiny. Armed with discernment. Armed with the kind of purity that cannot be faked. Hell doesn't war against what it doesn't fear. And beloved, you are feared. Some of the attacks you've endured weren't even about what you did, but about who you are. You've been persecuted without cause, misunderstood without reason, judged unfairly. Why? Because the spirit in you confronts the spirit in them. The anointing you carry doesn't play nice with darkness. It exposes. It agitates. It convicts. You've always known you were different, but you didn't realize just how much of a disruption your presence truly is. Even in silence, you provoke a transformation. There are people who can't stand you, and they don't even know why. They try to frame it with human words. But the truth is, spirits recognize spirits, and the one in you is not passive. It is holy. God placed a fire in your spirit that terrifies the enemy. It's not just your prayers, it's your persistence. It's not just your worship, it's your warfare. You carry glory that reaches beyond words. Even your sighs shake the gates of hell. That's why the enemy tries to distract you, derail you, depress you, because he can't destroy you. You are covered, you are marked, and you are rising. You felt the warfare. Some days it came in waves, financial pressure, Emotional torment. Isolation so thick, it felt like fog. But the enemy wasn't just attacking your life. He was targeting your identity. If he could get you to doubt who you are, he could delay what you're called to do. If he could get you to minimize your voice, he could muffle your authority. But not anymore. Your eyes are opening. Your ears are tuning in. Your spirit is aligning with the truth. You are not here to take up space. You are here to command it. Your assignment is too urgent. Your anointing too rare for you to keep shrinking. You were not born to blend. You were born to break cycles, to shift atmospheres, to rebuke demons, to bring heaven to earth. You're a walking contradiction to the plans of hell. That's why you've been through what you've been through. The rejection, the trauma, the confusion. It was all allowed so that when you rose, it would be undeniable that God did it. No one will be able to take the credit. Your life will be the evidence. Your scars will speak louder than sermons. Jesus told his disciples in Luke chapter 10, verse 19, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you." Did you hear that? Nothing will harm you. Not permanently. Not eternally. You have authority, and it's time to walk in it. You've hidden your power long enough. You've dimmed your light to make others comfortable. But the season of shrinking is over. You are a lion in the spirit, and the enemy knows it. Some of you have been waking up at strange hours, burdened for no reason. That's not anxiety, it's divine alertness. Your spirit is being summoned. There's a war in the unseen realm. And you're not just caught in it, you're called to fight in it. But not with fear, with authority, with praise, with purity, with fire. You were not given a timid spirit. You were given power. Your voice is needed. Your testimony is fire. Your story is a weapon. Your obedience is a battering ram against hell's gates. So stand up. Shake the dust off. Lift your head. You are not under attack because you're cursed. You're under attack because you're crowned. Even now, angels are encamping around you. Even now, God is preparing to show the world what he's been hiding in you. Even now, the enemy is panicking because a marked one has remembered who they are. And there is nothing more dangerous to darkness than a chosen one who has awakened. This is not the time to doubt yourself. This is not the time to play small. Your presence is not a mistake. Your existence is not random. You were sent. You were marked. You were loosed into the earth for such a time as this. And no power of darkness can reverse what God has spoken over you. Write this in the comment. I know now. Mark it as a prophetic declaration. You've just stepped over the threshold of awareness. You've been called strange, too intense, overly sensitive. They said you feel too much, care too deeply, dream too wildly. But what they called flaws, God calls features. You weren't made to be numb. You were crafted with a sensitivity that's not a defect, but a divine tool. Chosen one. What they mocked in you is what God intends to use. You've always sensed things before they happened. You've walked into rooms and felt invisible tension. You've cried without knowing why. That wasn't weakness. That was your spirit tuning in to higher frequencies. You are not crazy. You are called. And that sensitivity, it's spiritual equipment. This world teaches us to disconnect, to suppress, to deny, to harden. But you were wired to perceive. to intercede, to discern what others miss. The pain you carry isn't just yours. Often, it's the burden of others that God allows you to feel, so that you'll stand in the gap. You were made to weep, not in despair, but in intercession. You were built to feel deeply, because you were designed to carry heaven's heart. When you were younger, no one explained this. So you thought you were broken, but you weren't broken. You were breaking open. God was awakening your gift before your mind could make sense of it. And while others hardened with time, you remained open. That openness has cost you, hasn't it? You've been betrayed, used, overlooked, but still, you love. Still, you feel. Still, you show up. And that is power. The world applauds those who shut down, but heaven crowns those who stay soft in a brutal world. You are dangerous to darkness, not because you yell the loudest, but because your purity disarms evil, because your love is authentic, because your heart still beats with compassion in a generation going numb. That's not weakness, that's war. You hear what others miss. You see beneath the surface, and sometimes that makes life heavier. But remember, God would not give such sight to someone he did not trust. You were chosen to see, not just the visible, but the invisible. You were chosen to pick up signals from the Spirit when others only react to the natural. That's why you can't explain everything you feel, because it wasn't meant for words. It was meant for prayer. The dreams you've had, the emotions that surged out of nowhere, the way you suddenly knew something without being told. It's not random. It's your anointing. And for too long, the enemy has tried to twist it. He's made you question yourself, made you feel unstable, made you doubt your mind. But no more. You are not fragile. You are prophetic. You are not broken. You are burdened for nations, for families, for futures. And that burden is holy. It's what makes you run to God when others run to distraction. It's what keeps your spirit awake while others sleepwalk through life. You are alive to the Spirit. That is a rare gift. Protect it. Your calling isn't about performance, it's about presence, about being fully tuned into what heaven is saying. Your tears are often prayers. Your sighs are often praise. Your stillness, sometimes, is louder than shouting. You carry the frequency of the secret place, and that makes you a threat to every lie, every mask, every counterfeit. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14, Paul writes, "The person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolish. But the person with the Spirit makes judgments about all things." And this explains why people don't get you, why they rolled their eyes when you shared what God showed you, why you've often felt like you were speaking another language. You were a heavenly one, and not everyone has ears to hear it. But keep speaking, keep perceiving, keep responding to what heaven is saying, because you are not here to be understood, you are here to obey. Chosen one, your sensitivity is sacred. Guard it, cultivate it. Don't allow this cold world to harden what God made tender. You are an intercessor in a generation of influencers. You are a watchtower in a city of sleepers. And what flows through you, if surrendered fully, can change the atmosphere around you. It's time to stop apologizing for your gift. It's time to stop questioning your own spirit. You know what you know because heaven speaks. You feel what you feel because heaven trusts you. You carry what you carry because heaven marked you, and the days of shrinking back are over. You are chosen, and you are awake, God's chosen one. Do not be deceived. Heaven has seen it all. Every silent cry, every battle you fought alone, every tear you wiped in the dark. Nothing was wasted. Nothing went unnoticed. There were moments you thought no one saw you, but angels were taking record. Every sigh was sacred. Every breath you pushed through in pain became incense rising before the throne. The enemy tried to make you believe your pain was pointless, that all the losses, all the heartbreaks, all the betrayals were just chaos. But the truth is, they were strategy. Heaven was allowing pressure, not to crush you, but to carve you. You were being shaped in the shadows. What felt like abandonment was actually heaven drawing closer than ever. You are not forgotten. You are marked. God has watched you say yes when it hurt. He has watched you obey when it cost you everything. He's seen you forgive what was unforgivable. He's seen you sow when you had nothing left. And now, He is calling it forth. Heaven is sending word. There will be reward. You are not at the end of your rope. You are at the edge of a revealing of who you really are, of what you really carry. You've questioned if any of it mattered. Let me speak plainly. It did. It does. And it will. Every act of obedience, every hidden act of righteousness, every time you kept quiet when you could have cursed heaven documented it. You are about to step into a season where those secret seeds will bloom publicly. You are not buried. You are planted, and harvest is near. Do not grow weary. Don't lose heart. Don't let the silence fool you into believing heaven is silent. God has been orchestrating things in the unseen. Assignments have been released. Angels have been dispatched. And you chosen Onia, being summoned to step into the very thing you were born for. Isaiah chapter 5, 4. Verse 17 declares, No weapon formed against you shall prosper. The weapons were real. The pain was real. But the promise is louder. You weren't promised a life without battles. You were promised victory in every one of them. And this next victory will be one you don't have to fight alone. Heaven is standing with you. There are moments in life when the atmosphere shifts, when the heavens open and clarity begins to flood your spirit. This is one of those moments. You are not reading these words by accident. This is divine alignment. Something in your life is being rearranged, elevated, anointed. You're about to understand why everything had to happen exactly the way it did. And as you begin to step forward, remember, you're not walking alone. There is a remnant. There are others like you, marked, misunderstood, mighty in spirit. You may not have met them yet, but they are out there. This community is one of those gathering places, a space where chosen ones find confirmation, courage, and clarity. So if these words are stirring your spirit, if you feel that familiar fire rising in your bones, stay connected. Don't wander alone. Subscribe to stay in tune with every divine download released here. Share this word with another chosen one who's on the verge of giving up. And if you feel led to pour back into this ministry to help these messages keep flowing, to make sure others can be reached, consider sowing a seed, not out of pressure, but out of recognition. When something feeds your soul, it's good to honor it. But whether you give or not, whether you comment or not, know this: you are seen, and heaven is not blind to your sacrifice. You have stayed the course when others fell away. You have stood when everything in you screamed to bow. And because of that, a shift is coming. Not in the far-off future. Now, even as you read this, something is unlocking. Your name is being whispered in rooms of favor. Angels are circling your situation. Strategies are being formed in the spirit to catapult you into divine positioning. But it requires your yes, not your partial obedience, not your conditional surrender, your full, fearless yes. The one that breaks chains, the one that opens heavens. This is not the time to hold back. This is the time to anchor deep, to dig your feet into the promises of God and declare, I will not move. You've done too much warfare to give up now. You've cried too many tears to throw away your inheritance. You've come too far. The glory ahead is worth the pain behind. The reward waiting is heavier than the loss endured, and the testimony forming in your life will be one that shakes others into their purpose. You are the living proof that God still marks, still moves, still delivers. So breathe in. Chosen one, steady your soul. What's coming cannot be stopped. What's forming cannot be delayed. And what's written over your life will come to pass. Chosen one, something is shifting, and it's not just around you. It's within you. You felt it. The strange stirring in your spirit, the urgency rising in your chest, the restlessness you can't quite explain. That is not anxiety. That is awakening. That is heaven sounding the alarm inside your soul. There is a countdown in the spirit, a divine clock ticking, and you marked are near, standing at a precipice. The days of delay are over. The time of postponing is done. You cannot afford to keep putting off your surrender. You cannot afford to ignore the tug on your soul. This is your prophetic alarm, and it will not sound forever. You've been preserved for purpose. You've been spared for significance. And now, that purpose is calling louder than ever. Heaven is requiring movement. The window is narrowing, and the moment is holy. You must choose continue to drift, or step into divine alignment. There is no middle ground left. Lukewarm has expired. Delay has become danger. Every time you silenced your spirit's cry with distraction, the countdown pressed on. Every time you said, later, grace extended, but grace does not extend endlessly. There comes a time when mercy steps back and silence takes its place. God has been patient with you, but now He is requiring your yes, not just your belief, your obedience. You are standing between two realms zone of potential, the other of purpose. One promises comfort, the other demands courage, and only one leads to destiny. You already know which one calls to you. It's the one that keeps waking you up in the night, the one that burns in your chest when you try to pretend you're fine, the one that won't leave you alone. This is your moment to step into it, to cross over, to say, yes, Lord, I will go, I will become, because your delay is costing more than time. It's costing souls. The people connected to your calling are waiting. Your obedience will be their breakthrough. Your yes is not just about youth, it's about generations. You carry too much to keep sitting still. You've seen too much to pretend blindness. You've survived too much to go back now. Heaven has invested in you. Angels have warred for you. The Spirit has whispered to you. And now the shout is rising. Move. You can't keep pretending this is coincidence, that you're just scrolling, that this message isn't hitting exactly where it needs to. Notice is divine intervention. This is heaven pulling you back from the edge of distraction and pushing you into the center of assignment. You are not here by mistake. You were called here. You were summoned. Paul writes in Romans chapter 13, verse 11, "The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." Did you hear that? The hour has already come. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. The urgency you feel is not in your head, it's in your spirit. It's the sound of heaven drawing near, the sound of destiny being unlocked. So what will you do? Will you wait until everything feels perfect, until fear goes away? Or will you step even with trembling into the fire of obedience? Because here's the truth, fear will always scream, but courage whispers back, "Go anyway." And this is your invitation to stop circling the same mountain, to stop rehearsing the same excuses, to stop mourning closed doors and start building altars. God is not waiting for your perfection. He's waiting for your participation. He will strengthen you as you move. But you must move. There are moments in a chosen one's life when the whole of heaven leans in waiting to see what you'll do. This is one of those moments. Angels are watching. Demons are trembling. And the Spirit is hovering ready to fall in power the moment you say yes. Write this number as your agreement with heaven, as your surrender, as your signal to the Spirit that you are ready. Type 999, because this is not the end. This is the activation. Chosen one. The fire you've walked through wasn't meant to kill you, it was meant to forge you. You've been tested in ways others never saw. The betrayals, the breakdowns, the nights of silent agonon. Of it was random. Each trial was divine fire, not to burn you up, but to burn off everything that couldn't go with you into your calling. You've cried out for God to remove the pain, but He was using it to reveal the promise. Pain has a purpose when you're marked. It carves out the space for glory to dwell. It removes the false, so only the eternal remains. And that's why your process felt so brutal, because your purpose is so weighty. This wasn't punishment. This was preparation. You were refined in the furnace of affliction. The fire didn't expose your weakness, it revealed your resilience. When others quit, you kept going. When others grew bitter, you grew deeper. You were tempered in the flames until your faith became unshakable. And now, even though you still carry wounds, you carry something greater: authority. Real authority isn't given in comfort. It's forged in crisis. You know what it is to praise with a broken heart, to worship through disappointment, to believe God even when it looked like nothing was happening. That is power. That is weight. That is what heaven uses. There's a reason your trials didn't break you, because they weren't designed to end you, they were meant to elevate you. Every battle was an invitation, every heartbreak, a door, and every season of silence was God building something eternal inside you. Even when you couldn't see it, something holy was forming. You've emerged from fire, not as ashes, but as gold. Peter speaks of this in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 7. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. You've been purified. You've been proven. And now you are ready. There's a shift coming, not just externally, but internally. You're going to start feeling peace in places you once felt panic. You'll start walking through storms that once paralyzed you, not because the fire left you untouched, but because it left you unshakable. And that's what the fire was always meant to do. Strip you of illusions. Break your dependence on the approval of man. Tear away every idol, every false identity, until all that remains is the raw, glorious, purified version of who God always knew you were. You were never supposed to look like what you've been through. That's the miracle. That's the mark. People won't understand how you still smile, how you still worship, how you still serve with such love and clarity. But heaven knows. The angels saw you when no one else did. They stood watch over the very moments that built you. You were shaped by fire, but not owned by it. You carry its memory, but not its residue. You emerged more than a survivor. You are a vessel of power. Your story is not just for you. It's for those who will one day ask, "How did you survive that?" And you'll look them in the eye and say, "Because God walked with me through the flames." Something. You are walking proof that fire doesn't destroy, the chosen it defines them. This is why God couldn't remove you from the furnace too soon. He was waiting for the fullness, the right time, the finished process, and now he's ready to reveal what he's been working on in secret. You, the refined, relentless, radiant you. Don't be ashamed of your scars. They are not signs of failure. They are signatures of favor. They say, "I've been through the fire, but I came out carrying glory." They are the proof that nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what heaven has sealed. You are stronger than you think, wiser than you've been told, and more ready than you feel. The fire didn't make you bitter, it made you bold. The darkness didn't drown. It deepened you, and the pain didn't define you, purified you. Now walk forward, not as a victim of trials, but as a vessel of testimony. There has always been a war over your identity. From the very beginning, the enemy has tried to distort your reflection, hoping you would forget who you are. He's whispered lies, cloaked in familiar voices, all designed to plant confusion in your spirit. He's made you question your worth, your purpose, your place. But hear this now, the attack was never on your behavior. It was always on your becoming. You've been targeted, not because you're lost, but because you're found, not because you're weak, but because you're weaponized. The enemy saw glimpses of your destiny long before you did, and his mission has been simple: keep you blind to it. That's why he sent people to misuse you. That's why he sent shame to paralyze you. That's why he surrounded you with noise so you'd stop listening for the still, small voice that tells you who you really are. Because if you ever saw it, if you ever believed it, you'd rise. And if you rise, hell trembles. Your identity is not a theory. It's a spiritual reality. It is written in the heavens. You were knit together in divine intention, not by accident or emotion. You are not a product of your environment. You are not defined by your trauma. You are not reduced to your wounds. You are who God says you are. But the enemy has studied you. He knows the power of self-perception. That's why he's fought so hard to skew your image. He knows that if you believe the lie long enough, you'll begin to live it. That's why the warfare around your mind has been so relentless. Because your thoughts shape your sight. And sight true. Spiritual sight births alignment. When a chosen one starts seeing clearly, everything changes. You stop begging for what's already yours. You stop chasing things that drain you. You stop apologizing for your anointing. You begin to walk in authority. Pray with precision. speak with weight. You start to look like the version of you that hell has feared from the beginning. That's why your awakening has been so opposed. Because identity is dangerous. Once you know who you are, nothing can chain you. Not fear, not shame, not rejection. You become immovable, and you start reclaiming everything the enemy stole. You were never meant to live under labels placed on you by broken people. You were never meant to wear garments of guilt, fear, or false humility. You were designed to wear robes of righteousness, a crown of glory, garments dipped in honor, and it's time to put them back on. Jesus didn't die so you could question your worth every day. He died so you could live boldly in the fullness of who He made you to be. He paid for your identity in blood. You owe it to heaven to stop shrinking. In Revelation chapter 2, verse 17, it is written, "To the one who overcomes, I will give a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it." Oh, a new name. A name not known by man, but by God. That's the name the enemy fears. That's the name heaven calls you by, and that is the name that is being resurrected in your spirit, even now. You're not who they said you were. You never were. You are who God says you are. This is why the battle for your mind has been unrelenting. The enemy wanted you exhausted, confused, spiritually amnesiac. Because a chosen one who doesn't know who they are is easy to manipulate, but a chosen one who remembers, who looks in the mirror and sees royalty, not ruin, that one becomes a walking revolution. And you, chosen one, are that revolution. You will break patterns simply by being present. You will silence generational lies by walking in truth. You will dismantle strongholds by remembering who you are. This is not motivational fluff. This is spiritual fact. You were formed in fire and crowned with calling, and no lie from the pit of hell can change that. So now it's time. Time to shake off the last of the illusions. Time to uproot the last of the lies. Time to renounce every false identity, every mask, every counterfeit. You are not the abused. You are the anointed. You are not the forgotten. You are the favored. You are not the failure. You are the forerunner. This is not a journey to become something new. It's a return to what was always true. The real you is awakening, and heaven is rejoicing. Chosen one, your dreams have been under siege for a reason, not because they are insignificant, but because they are divine. You've seen things in your sleep that made you wake up gasping. You've had visions you couldn't explain. You've felt presence in the night, war in the unseen, battles in your soul, and you wondered if you were going crazy. But you weren't. Your dreams have always carried weight. They are not just the overflow of your thoughts, they are downloads from heaven. Coded messages in the night. You've been receiving spiritual intelligence disguised as strange symbols, intense emotions, and unexplained awakenings. While others sleep peacefully, you war. That is the mark of one who has been called to see. The enemy knows that God often speaks in dreams. He's known it since Joseph, since Daniel, since the wise men were warned in the night not to return to Herod. Dreams are sacred, and those who carry the gift of receiving them are often targeted by spiritual confusion and fear. Because if the enemy can tamper with your night, he believes he can steal your direction by day. But no more. You're beginning to discern the difference. The fog is lifting. The patterns are being revealed. Those recurring dreams, they weren't random. They were warnings. Those sleepless nights weren't insomnia, they were intercession. You were being summoned, not disturbed. The dreams that shook you were heaven's alarms, not your imagination. You carry the gift of insight. You see what's coming before it arrives. That's why your discernment often comes in pictures, in scenes, in layered meanings. And it's also why the enemy tries to fill your mind with clutter and noise. Because if he can pollute your mind by day, he hopes you won't recognize God's voice by night. But you are awakening. The veil is thinning. And as you begin to submit your dreams to the Spirit of God, interpretation will flow. You will begin to understand what used to confuse you. You'll begin to recognize the symbols, the patterns, the messages. You are not crazy. You are a seer. Joel, chapter 2, verse 28 says, "Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions." And this is being fulfilled in you. God is unlocking dreamers again. He's restoring sight to those who have been spiritually blind. And he is cleansing the night seasons of those who've been plagued by fear. Chosen one, your dreams are about to shift. No more torment. No more darkness chasing you. No more waking up in dread. From now on, when you sleep, angels will stand guard. The atmosphere around your bed will be filled with the fragrance of heaven. And when you dream, you will dream with clarity. You will wake up with instructions. You will move in confidence. God will begin to give you strategies in the night, divine blueprints, prophetic previews, intercessory assignments. Some of your most important revelations will come when your body rests and your spirit rises. Prepare to keep a journal near. The dreams will not fade when you wake. They will cling to you until they are fulfilled. You will begin to walk in what you've already seen. Rooms you dreamed about will become your reality. Faces that appeared in prayer will become your mission field. Places you've never been will pull on your spirit, because your spirit has already visited them. And here's the beautiful mystery. Your dreams were never just for you. They were meant to equip you for others, to intercede, to warn, to prepare. You are not just a dreamer, you are a spiritual watchman. You see in the night what others miss in the day. You guard the gates. You perceive the shift before the wind changes. The next time you dream, don't dismiss it. Don't explain it away. Lean in. Ask the Spirit to speak. Write it down. Sit with it. And you will begin to recognize the patterns. What once felt like chaos will become clarity. The fear will flee. The revelation will rise. You were never just a dreamer, you were designed to see. Write this below. I receive sight. Seal it in the Spirit. A silent shout of agreement. Chosen one. You were not sent here to continue the cycles that held your family captive. You were not born to blend into the patterns of your bloodline. You were born to break them. You are the interruption, the divine detour, the curse breaker that darkness didn't see coming. You've likely felt the weight of this since childhood. That invisible heaviness, the feeling that something wasn't right like you, didn't belong in the dysfunction around you. That wasn't rebellion. That was recognition. Your spirit knew early. This ends with me. While others were content with survival, something inside you longed for deliverance. And not just for yourself, but for your family, your children, your children's children. You carry the kind of authority that doesn't just change one life, it shifts generations. That's why you've been fought so hard. That's why the warfare has been multi-layered. Because your obedience doesn't just bless you, it frees everyone connected to your name. The addiction that ran in your bloodline, you're the first to break it. The poverty that lingered for decades, you're the first to reverse it. The silence, the shame, the spiritual blindness, you were sent to confront it with truth, clarity, and fire. You didn't come from royalty, but royalty came from you. Your journey hasn't been easy, because groundbreakers don't walk on smooth terrain. You've had to dig through layers of spiritual debris. You've had to face what others ignored. You've had to battle demons that didn't start with you, but tried to end with you. And every time you stood your ground, something broke. You've likely been misunderstood by your own family, isolated, resented, questioned. But understand, light always makes darkness uncomfortable, especially when that light starts shining in the very places the enemy called home for generations. Your resistance has not been in vain. Every prayer you whispered, every moment you chose obedience over ease, has been a hammer in the spirit. Chains are cracking because of you. You are what heaven calls a forerunner, one who goes before, one who prepares the way, one who says, "This far and no further." You carry a mantle of freedom, and it doesn't always come with applause, but it does come with impact. You will be the story others tell when they speak of deliverance. You will be the turning point in the narrative of your name. In Exodus chapter 2, verse 6, God says, "Showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments." Then, that's your legacy. Not just escape, establishment. Not just personal freedom, but generational blessing. You are building altars in the spirit that your great-grandchildren will stand on. You are planting seeds they will never have to labor for. You are shifting realities for people you haven't even met yet. Don't despise the weight. Don't curse the pressure. You were built to carry it, not in your strength, but in God's. That ache you feel sometimes, the exhaustion from always having to be the strong one, is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're leading. And heaven is reinforcing you even now. Rest is coming. Joy is coming. Harvest is coming. But first, the final wall must fall. That internal resistance, the voice that still says, "Maybe I'm not enough," has to die. Because you are enough. Not because you've done everything right, but because you said yes. God doesn't choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. You are chosen. And as this message resonates in your soul, remember, you're not alone in this. There's a growing remnant others who are walking the same path, breaking the same chains. That's why this space exists. To gather those marked for something deeper, to be a well of strength when the road feels heavy. If these words have stirred something in your spirit, if they've confirmed what you've quietly carried, consider sharing this message. Someone else is waiting for what you just received. And if you'd like to walk deeper with use, receive more prophetic insight, teaching, and divine alignment, subscribe. This is more than content. It's a lifeline. And if you feel led to sow into this space to water what is watering you, your support makes it possible to continue building altars that reach nations. To those who've partnered with us, thank you. To those who will, heaven sees your heart. But above all, remember this: you are not an accident. You are not a continuation. You are a holy interruption, a chain breaker, a generational shift. And what you're about to walk into is greater than what you've survived. The earth groans for the revealing of the sons and daughters of God. And you, yes, you are part of that unveiling. They've walked past you, dismissed you, and overlooked you, but heaven never did. While others were building their image, you were being built in silence. While they were chasing platforms, you were being positioned in the shadows. And though no one saw the process, the angels never left their post. Chosen one, you've been guarded in ways you'll never fully comprehend. You've been surrounded by forces heaven assigned from the beginning. Not because you're fragile, but because you're dangerous. When God marks a person, He protects them. And when you are marked for impact, heaven assigns angels not to comfort, but to war on your behalf. There were attacks that never reached you, setups that collapsed before they reached your doorstep, words spoken in rooms you never entered shut down by unseen hands. There were days you should have lost your mind, but didn't, not because you were strong enough, but because heaven stepped in. You weren't lucky. You were covered. You weren't just preserved through crisis. You were escorted through it. You've walked through valleys where shadows lingered, but you made it out not by your own might, but because heaven's armies walked beside you. There were nights the weight was unbearable, and yet you woke up, still breathing, still pushing, still holding on. That was not chance. That was intercession. The angels assigned to you didn't come because you prayed the perfect prayers. They were assigned because of the seal on your life, because your name is written on heaven's scrolls, because your calling activated warfare in the unseen. You weren't even aware of most of it, but your spirit felt the tension, the resistance, the heaviness that came out of nowhere. What you felt was spiritual combat. What you survived was supernatural war. There's a reason you couldn't settle where others did. A reason you were uncomfortable in places others seemed fine. The angels surrounding you weren't assigned to guard your comfort. They were there to preserve your calling. You were moved, not to inconvenience you, but to insulate what you carry. Some people were removed from your life without explanation. That wasn't rejection. That was spiritual intervention. You didn't see the conversations behind closed doors. You didn't hear the plots, but the angels did, and they moved with heaven's authority. What you thought was a loss was often your rescue. Psalm chapter 91. Verse 11 declares, "For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." This isn't poetic language. It's reality. Heaven doesn't waste words, and when it says you're guarded, believe it. There are assignments over your life that are too critical to be left to chance. And so heaven intervenes. Consistently, quietly, powerfully. You've been spared from more than you've survived. And still, you question your worth. Still, you wonder if you matter. Still, you battle the lie that you're insignificant. But chosen one, insignificance doesn't require armies. What you carry must be immense, because what guards you is divine. Not every soul walks with escort, but the marked ones do. There is a moment coming soon when the veil will lift, when what's been happening around you in the spirit will manifest in the natural. People will wonder why doors opened, why storms stopped, why favor found you. And you'll know. The angels moved. The king decreed. The seal held. This is not fantasy. This is your reality. There is more happening around you than your eyes can see. But your spirit knows. That's why you felt the urgency, the pull, the invisible resistance. You are not alone in your battles. You are not uncovered in your valleys. You are escorted, protected, and covered by a kingdom that does not fail. Even now, the atmosphere around you is shifting, because the angels do not just guard, they respond to your worship, to your obedience, to your surrender. They move at the sound of the King's voice, and his voice has been speaking your name. So walk boldly, not in arrogance, but in awareness. You are not here as a bystander. You are on assignment, and assignments like yours are never left undefended. Chosen one, this is not just another season. This is your prophetic alarm. The time of silence has expired. The grace that once shielded your delay is shifting. Heaven is ringing with urgency, and your name is echoing through its halls. This is the moment where hesitation becomes disobedience. This is the hour where passivity becomes danger. You can feel it. Something in your spirit is unsettled, not from fear, but from divine awakening. The same things that used to feel comfortable now feel like chains. The distractions you once entertained now feel like poison. That's not mood. That's movement. The Spirit is pulling you into alignment, into obedience, into fire. This is not just a wake-up call. It's a summons. The time to pretend you don't know your calling is over. The time to hide behind fear is over. The window is narrowing. And what you do next carries eternal weight. You are not just delaying purpose. You are withholding heaven's answer to a broken earth. There are people waiting for your yes, waiting for your obedience, waiting for the full expression of what's been hidden inside of you. The prophetic edge you carry has been dormant long enough. The words inside you, the visions, the insight, the wisdom, they're not for later. They're for now. The enemy wants you to believe you're unqualified. But God doesn't ask for a resume. He asks for surrender. You've been asking for signs, confirmations, reassurance, and heaven has given them again and again. This message is another, not written by coincidence, not spoken by accident. It's divine orchestration, a final trumpet before the shift. Hebrews chapter 3, verse 15 declares, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." Today, not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, not when life slows down. Today, if your heart still feels, if your spirit still stirs, then the invitation still stands. But understand, this door is not open forever. There comes a time when grace transitions from invitation to instruction, and instruction delayed becomes disobedience. You don't need another word. You need to act on the one already spoken. Your spirit is already awake. That's why you're here. That's why the resistance is rising. Because you are stepping closer to your divine release. You can feel the friction. The distractions suddenly intensify. Old habits try to return. That's not just life, that's spiritual warfare. The moment you get closer to your yes, hell gets nervous. But this time, you will not shrink. This time, you will not run. This time, you will obey. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to step. Heaven doesn't require your perfection, it requires your participation. The oil flows after the movement, not before. The anointing increases with the obedience. God is not asking you to lead alone. He is asking you to follow fully. This moment has been ordained. The words you're reading now are heaven's final nudge before the reveal. There's something on the other side of your obedience that will not just change your life, it will change your legacy. The door is open, the angels are waiting, and the fire is ready. Type this number as your signal to the Spirit, not just as a comment, but as a covenant. Let heaven and earth witness your surrender. Type 444, because this is not just a call, it is a commissioning. You've felt the sting of rejection more times than you can count. Doors slammed, opportunities lost, people you trusted walked away without explanation. And for a long time, you carried that like a wound, like something was wrong with you. But it's time to see it for what it really was: redirection. Chosen one. When God has called you higher, He will often tear you away from what is too low. When He's destined you for divine appointment, He won't let you settle in a space that would drain your anointing. The rejection wasn't a curse, it was a course correction. It was mercy in disguise. There were places you tried to force your way into, relationships you begged to preserve, platforms you longed to climb. But every time, heaven stood in your way, because God saw what you could not. He saw the compromise, the distraction, the dilution of your calling. So He let them say no. He let them walk. He let the door stay closed. And though it hurt, it was protection. God will never let your purpose be polluted by proximity to people who cannot carry your weight. He will remove them, even if it breaks your heart, to ensure your oil flows freely. Not everyone can go where you're going. Not everyone should walk beside you. Some were only assigned to your past, not your purpose. You've been carrying grief for what God deliberately blocked, mourning the loss of something that would have minimized you. But heaven wants you to know, nothing was taken from you that belonged to your future. What left your life was never part of the fulfillment. It was only part of the formation. You learned strength in those goodbyes. You learned clarity in those closed doors. And most of all, you learned who you are when you're stripped of external validation. You found God in the absence of people, and you discovered that His presence was more than enough. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment. What looked like a setback was actually a setting apart. You weren't being pushed out, you were being pulled up. God had to reroute you, and in doing so, He freed you from the need to be understood by those who were never equipped to carry your call. You've spent too much time explaining yourself to people who never had the language for your purpose. But now, you are being released from that. You don't need approval to obey. You don't need applause to be anointed. In John chapter 15, verse 2, Jesus said, "He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit." Cutting is not cruelty. It's cultivation. God is not trying to punish you. He's pruning you for greater fruit. And that pruning often comes through rejection, through disconnection, through sudden endings that don't make sense at first. But over time, you see it clearly. God was working behind the pain. He was preparing space for the right connections, the right alignments, the kind of people who don't just celebrate you, but cover you, who don't compete with you, but confirm what's already in you. Those are the ones who are coming. But first, the counterfeits had to go. You had to be emptied before you could be filled. You see, chosen one, oil and compromise cannot coexist. Anointing and approval rarely travel together. And so God had to remove what would have cost you clarity. You were never rejected. You were redirected. And the new direction is saturated with destiny. This is why you can't keep mourning what God moved. You can remember it, but don't return to it. Don't try to resurrect what heaven has already buried. You're not who you were then. You've grown. You've healed. You've awakened. And the next chapter demands your full attention. There are people being positioned to meet you in this next season who have been prepared in the same fire. They know the cost. They speak your language. They carry their own oil. You won't have to explain your depth. You won't have to shrink to be accepted. You'll walk in rooms that match your frequency. You'll speak and be understood. Not because you changed, but because your alignment finally caught up with your assignment. You didn't lose yourself when they walked away. You found your core. You found the untouchable part of you, the spirit-breathed part that no one can damage. That's the part God is building on now. That's the foundation for your next elevation. So let the past rest. Let the silence remain silent. You don't need closure from people when heaven has already confirmed the separation. What looked like subtraction was preparation for multiplication. And in time, some of the very people who rejected you will see the evidence. They'll watch as God lifts what they overlooked, not for revenge but as a witness, that what is truly marked cannot be dismissed, that when God opens a door, no man can shut it. You've passed the test of being hidden, the test of being overlooked, the test of walking away from what was familiar in faith that something greater was waiting. You've endured the isolation, the confusion, the delay, and now comes the unveiling. But it had to begin with rejection, because rejection refined your hearing. It sharpened your vision. It broke your dependence on opinions and rooted your identity in the only place it was ever meant to live, in Him. You're not bitter anymore. You're built. You're not fragile anymore. You're forged. You're not empty anymore. You're equipped. And that's what makes you unstoppable. There is a weight in your voice that can't be explained, a power in your presence that can't be denied. You don't even try to draw attention, it finds you. You've noticed it, haven't you? How rooms shift when you enter, how conversations still when you speak, how certain people look uncomfortable around you without you doing anything at all. That's not charisma. That's not coincidence. That's the thunder of the chosen. You were never just called to exist. You were called to carry, not opinions, not performance, but divine power. There's a roar in your spirit that echoes from the throne room itself. When you pray, something moves. When you cry, heaven records it. When you speak, hell listens. Because chosen ones don't just carry favor, they carry fire. And that fire makes you dangerous. Not to people, but to darkness. The atmosphere shifts around you because the spirit in you cannot be ignored. You carry a frequency that disrupts demonic plans, a resonance that awakens sleeping spirits. That's why you're so misunderstood. That's why your presence provokes even when your words are few. You were born with thunder in your bones. From a young age, you knew you were different. Not better but burdent. You carried weight before you knew what it was. You felt things deeply, saw things clearly, understood things too early. And it wasn't imagination. It was inheritance. The kingdom placed something on you before you had language for it. And now, the time has come to walk fully in that thunder. No more second-guessing what you carry. No more watering down your authority to make others comfortable. No more explaining away the weight of your voice. When you speak, demons tremble. Not because of who you are, but because of what you host. There's something about your obedience that opens realms. Your silence can convict more than another's sermon. Your worship raw, unpolished, desperates torn through atmospheres. The enemy once claimed, you didn't just survive trauma, you transfigured through it. What should have ended you only exposed what was eternal in you. There's a cost to this kind of calling. You've felt it in the form of isolation. You've felt it in repeated spiritual attacks. You've felt it in how you carry burdens no one else sees. But all of it has been preparing your spirit for this hour. And make no mistake, this is an hour of rising. No one sees the hours you've wept over cities, over nations, over your family. No one knows how your tears have flooded prayer rooms in secret. But heaven knows. The angels know, and they are beginning to move with urgency. Not because of what is coming, but because of what you are becoming. There is a storm rising from within you, and it is holy. You weren't chosen to blend in with the noise of the world. You were chosen to thunder truth in a time of deception. You weren't chosen to entertain the masses. You were chosen to break chains. You weren't chosen to comfort demons. You were chosen to cast them out. This is why compromise can no longer have space in your life. The fire you carry cannot coexist with lukewarm. The thunder in your voice cannot coexist with silence in your spirit. You were never meant to walk the wide path. Yours has always been narrow, sharp, anointed. The prophet Jeremiah said it best in chapter 20, verse 9, "But his word was in my heart like a burning fire shut up in my bones." That is your reality. You've tried to walk away. You've tried to tone it down. You've tried to take the easier route, but the fire won't let you. The thunder won't sleep. You weren't made for silence. You were born to declare, to speak, to awaken, to confront. The world doesn't need another celebrity, it needs a voice that carries weight, that carries presence, that carries truth, unshaken by trends and unmoved by fear. That's you. And with that, thunder comes responsibility. It cannot be used carelessly. It must be stewarded in purity. You've been entrusted with something holy, and God is requiring a higher level of surrender, because those who carry thunder must walk in truth. Those who move the earth must be grounded in heaven. The call is intensifying. The power is growing, and so is the opposition. But you will not be overtaken, because what's in you is greater than what's around you. You're not fighting for victory, you're fighting from it. And every time you open your mouth with obedience, the sound echoes through eternity. There are captives who will be freed by your voice. There are regions that will shift because of your worship. There are hearts that will be revived through your obedience. This is not hype. This is holy. You've been called, you've been trusted, and you've been prepared. Now speak, not to be heard, but to release what's been stored. Not to impress, but to impact. Not to entertain, but to establish. Let the thunder in you rise. Let the voice in you break silence. Let the mantle on you be seen. Because when a chosen one speaks under divine unction, all of heaven leans in, and the earth must respond. You've been hidden, but not forgotten. Sheltered, but not overlooked. There is a reason why your rise hasn't been public yet. Why your gifts haven't been fully revealed. Why your anointing has felt heavy but invisible. It's because God hides what He treasures. He conceals what He intends to crown. Chosen one, you've been in a spiritual cave. In a season of preparation that felt like delay. In a place where few could see you. Fewer, understood you, and almost no one affirmed what you carried. That was intentional. God does his best work in the dark. He hid Moses in the desert. He hid David in the fields. He hid Esther behind palace doors. He even hid Jesus for 30 years before unveiling him in just 3. So, don't think it's strange that you've been concealed. Hiddenness is not punishment, it's preservation. You were not ready for exposure, and the world was not ready for your weight. So God wrapped you in layers of silence and protection. He let others rise before you. He let platforms pass by you. Because what you carry is not momentary, it's eternal. And eternal things require eternal preparation. But now, the shift has come. The ground beneath you is trembling. The heavens above you are opening. The whisper of God has turned into a declaration. It is time. Time for unveiling. Time for the mantle you've carried in silence to be seen. Time for the private weight to become a public witness. You didn't skip the process. You didn't sell out. You didn't give in to pressure. And because you waited, because you stayed hidden when your flesh craved attention, God is now lifting the veil. The glory that's been forming in the secret place is about to shine in the open, and it will be undeniable. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This is not the moment to second-guess what you carry. This is not the time to question if you're ready. The process made you ready. The pain formed the platform. The crushing created the oil. You have been fashioned by fire, refined by rejection, and anointed through affliction. What God is doing in you will not look like anyone else's rise. This is not a marketing plan. This is a divine unveiling. You won't have to beg for attention. Heaven will highlight you. The right doors will open. The right voices will find you. The favor assigned to your name will find its coordinates. But even as the visibility increases, so must your sensitivity. Don't forget the cave. Don't lose the posture of the hidden place. Because public elevation is sustained by private intimacy. Your power doesn't come from the platform, it comes from the presence. You've been trusted with influence not for your benefit, but for impact. Your voice will carry healing. Your story will carry weight. Your life will be a sermon. And those who once overlooked you will have no choice but to recognize the hand of God resting upon you. This unveiling isn't about validation. It's about assignment. You've been assigned to a generation gasping for authenticity. You've been sent to a people starving for presence. You've been chosen to carry something heavy into spaces where light is rare. Your voice won't sound like theirs. Your oil won't smell like theirs. Your approach will break norms. But that's what makes it holy. You weren't born to echo others, you were born to awaken the slumbering, to stir the stagnant, to declare with boldness the nearness of God. And as the spotlight shifts to you, remember who it belongs to. You are not the source, you are the vessel. You are not the glory, you are the torchbearer. The fire is not yours to boast, it's yours to steward. And that is what makes you safe for elevation. Because you know the oil costs. You didn't get here by shortcuts. You got here through silence, through service, through wilderness, through tears no one saw and prayers no one heard. And now, God is saying, come forth, not to impress but to impart, not to build fame but to build altars. This space you're stepping into will require more of you, not less, more surrender, more integrity, more purity, but it will also carry more joy, more impact, more divine encounters. You won't just be seen, you'll be sent. And for those watching, reading, receiving, if this has confirmed what you've quietly carried, if it's ignited a flame in your spirit, then let it be known. Write it as a witness. Let the world know your season of hiding has ended. Comment below, "I'm ready." Let this be your declaration, your digital altar, your silent shout of surrender. And as we continue releasing these words, fresh manna, divine insight, kingdom fire, stay connected. Subscribe, not for content, but for covenant. Share this word so another hidden one knows their time is coming too. And if this message has fed your spirit, consider sowing into the space where your soul has been nourished. You're not just giving, you're partnering with breakthrough. The unveiling is here. Step into it with reverence. Temptation doesn't always come dressed as evil. Sometimes it wears the face of relief. Sometimes it whispers comfort in the language of delay. Sometimes it offers shortcuts that seem like answers to long-standing prayers. But you, chosen one, must see deeper. You must see beneath the surface. Because the next level of your calling doesn't just require fire, it requires discernment. You've come too far to be fooled now. You've wept too much to throw it away on a counterfeit comfort. There is a trap being set in this season, not to destroy you instantly, but to dull you slowly, to make you believe that compromise is wisdom, that silence is peace, that settling is strategy. But let the spirit within you rise and say, "No, this is not the time to betray your crown." There will be offers that look like blessings, people who speak your language but don't carry your covenant, opportunities that shimmer with promise but drip with distraction. Not every open door is divine. Some are designed to detour. Some are designed to delay. And if the enemy can't destroy you, he'll try to distract you just long enough to keep you from arriving. You've been through too much fire to lay your authority down for a moment of ease. You carry oil that took years to press, the price you paid in the secret place through tears, silence, obedience too high to be traded for a temporary escape. Don't let a moment of weakness undo a lifetime of preparation. This isn't about shame. This is about alignment. God is not looking for your perfection. He's looking for your loyalty. And loyalty doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like saying no to what your flesh craves. Sometimes it feels like silence when everything in you wants to respond. Sometimes it means turning your back on what once felt like love, because now you see it for what it really is, delay dressed as desire. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26 speaks with clarity. If we deliberately keep on sinning after we have received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left. This is not a game. This is not a gray area. You know too much now. You've seen too much. The truth has found you. And with that truth comes responsibility. The kind of responsibility that calls for radical obedience, for separation from what dilutes, for warfare against the familiar. The temptation isn't always to rebel. Sometimes it's simply to pause, to sit back, to delay obedience with the lie of just a little longer. But partial obedience is still disobedience. And the danger isn't always in what you do, in what you stop doing. You've been contending. You've been consistent. You've been pushing. And now, the enemy wants to offer you rest in all the wrong places. But you were not created for counterfeit rest. You were created for divine restoration. You don't need a momentary escape. You need the sustaining power of the Spirit. The next wave of your assignment requires your eyes to stay sharp, your spirit to stay clean, your heart to stay tethered. The enemy would love nothing more than to see you give up your authority in a moment of confusion. But this is where you remember who you are. You are not who you were. You are not weak. You are not wandering. You are a chosen one, sealed in fire, marked in holiness, and crowned with divine purpose. The testing of this season is not punishment, it's proof. It's heaven watching to see if you'll protect what you've been given, if you'll choose presence over popularity, if you'll hold your ground when the pressure tells you to bend. There will be voices that try to lull you back to sleep, old habits dressed in new clothes, past patterns trying to masquerade as peace. But you must stay awake. You must stay consecrated. You must stay on the wall. This is where kings are made. In the tension, in the testing, in the private choices no one else sees. The choices that build legacy or destroy it. And you are being watched not by people, but by heaven. You are being weighed not in judgment, but in readiness. If you can protect the oil now, you will walk in authority later. If you can say no to the detour now, you will run in divine alignment later. If you can keep your yes on the altar now, you will see promises fulfilled that others only dream about. This is not just about you. There are destinies attached to your yes. There are territories that will remain under darkness unless your obedience brings light. There are lives waiting for the sound of your rising. Your crown is not just a symbol, it is a signal. It tells the earth that a leader has emerged, that a deliverer has awakened. Don't forfeit that. Don't hand it over for a moment of pleasure, for the approval of man, for a deal that promises ease but costs your clarity. You didn't come this far to sell your birthright for a bowl of comfort. You came this far to wear your crown with authority, with power, with holiness. So now, when the temptation comes, recognize it. When the shortcut appears, reject it. When the counterfeit calls, remain silent, because your answer was already spoken in the Spirit. You chose God. You chose obedience. You chose fire. Let your feet stay on the narrow path. Let your hands remain clean. Let your crown sit undisturbed. And now you stand at the edge not of destruction, but destiny, not of ruin. Beaut revealing. You've survived what was sent to silence you. You've outlasted storms that others never saw. You've warred through nights that no one knew about. And still, here you are, chosen, marked, awake. This is the moment where the hidden becomes visible, where the whispered promises begin to echo through the earth, where the fire inside of you aligns with the fire of heaven, and something unstoppable is born. You have crossed through the shadowlands. You have shed identities that were never yours. You have endured the pressure that forges kings and queens. Chosen one. The angels have not only marked you, they have watched you. They have witnessed your obedience, your trembling, yes, your quiet courage, your persistence when the heavens felt silent. And now, their wings are moving again. This time, not to guard you, but to go before you. You are no longer hidden. You are no longer waiting. You are stepping into the place for which you were born. There is a spiritual unveiling that begins when obedience collides with divine timing. That's what this is. Your life is not about to begin, it already has. But now it will be seen, not for your glory, but for God's. not to raise your name, but to fulfill his. The fire you carry has a sound, a vibration, a frequency, and now it will draw what is yours. Opportunities tailored to your anointing, connections forged in the spirit, doors that only open when the one with the mark arrives. This is not ambition. This is alignment. This is not about striving. This is about stepping into what has already been prepared. You will begin to walk in rooms and realize the atmosphere was waiting for you. You will speak, and the words will carry weight they never carried before. Not because you've changed, but because you've been revealed. There's no going back. Not to small thinking. Not to spiritual slumber. Not to being understood by those unwilling to see. You were never built for comfort. You were built for glory. And glory comes with resistance. It comes with weight. It comes with fire. But it also comes with presence, with power, with heaven's unmistakable wind at your back. Revelation chapter 3. Verse 8 declares, See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. That's where you are now. Before the open door, the one your obedience unlocked, the one your warfare cleared, the one your tears baptized. And the only thing you must do now is walk through it, not in fear, but in fire, not in arrogance, but in authority. You carry something this world desperately needs. Not performance, not perfection, presence, real, rough, spirit-breathed presence. You are a move of God wrapped in human form, a vessel refined in silence, a voice prepared in isolation. You are not just a believer, you are a builder of altars, of truth, of legacy. The enemy is terrified of your becoming. That's why the attacks intensified before this moment. That's why the pressure surged when you got closer. Because he knows once you walk in what you carry, everything shifts. And now, heaven is watching, not to test, but to honor. The earth is responding, not to resist, but to make room. You will go where others could not. You will speak what others would not. You will see what others missed. Because you were not called for comfort, you were chosen for conquest. You are stepping into the fire, not to be consumed, but to be confirmed. Confirmed as one who didn't bow. Confirmed as one who didn't quit. Confirmed as one who, through it all, still said yes. Let the fire rise. Let the mantle settle. Let the thunder in your bones finally sound. This is your hour. This is your unveiling. This is the moment the angels have waited for. Chosen one. Take a deep breath and let this truth settle into your spirit. You are not who you used to be. You are not standing where you started. You are not walking blindly anymore. You are moving with clarity, with conviction, with divine covering. What heaven has begun in you, no force of darkness can undo. The angels have marked you, and you, yes, you have responded with tears, with trembling, with unwavering yes. That makes you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. That makes you a light in places others fear to go. You carry the presence now. You carry the call. You carry the confirmation. So let it echo. Let it spread. Share this message with someone who's been feeling the pressure of the fire. Let them know the fire is not the end, it's the evidence of beginning. Subscribe, so you never miss another divine word sent for your spirit. And if this message has stirred something deep in you, if it's poured into your soul like living water, consider pouring back. Support this work. Help this altar of truth remain lit for others who are just awakening. And before you go, let your voice join the movement. Leave your mark below. Whether it's a short declaration or just a number of prophetic agreement, type 777 in the comments as your final seal. A number of fullness, a number of completion, a number that says, I was chosen. And I said yes. You are marked. You are moving. You are not done. You are just beginning. Heaven is still watching, and earth is about to witness